Hello sir, I am Khadija Akhtar Bithi from group GS12 The Variables. Our presentation topic is control constructs loops. Now I am going to discussing about loops and the iterative or counting do loop. Loops are Fortran constructs that permit us to execute a sequence of statements more than once. There are two basic forms of loop constructs, while loops and iterative loops. Iterative loops are also called counting loops. The major difference between these two types of loops is in how the repetition is controlled. The code in a while loop is repeated an indefinite number of times until some user-specified condition is satisfied. By contrast, the code in an iterative loop is repeated a specified number of times and the number of repetitions is known before the loop starts. In the Fortran language, a loop that executes a block of statements a specified number of times is called an iterative loop or a counting loop. The counting loop construct has the form. The integer quantities I start, I end, and increment are the parameters of the counting loop. They control the value of the variable index during execution. The parameter increment is optional. If it is missing, it is assumed to be 1. The statement between the do statement and the end do statement are known as the body of the loop. They are executed repeatedly during each pass of the do loop. Here's a flowchart of iterative do loop. The loop continues executing until the condition is true. When the condition is false, the loop stops executing. The Fortran code to calculate n factorial for positive value of n. Suppose that we wish to calculate the value of 5. If n is 5, the do loop parameters will be I start equal to 1, I end equal to 5 and increment equal to 1. This loop will be executed 5 times with the variable I taking on values of 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 in the successive loops. The resulting value of n factorial will be 1 into 2 into 3 into 4 into 5 equal to 120. Thank you, sir. Now my friend Zara will discuss about the while loop.
Thanks, Bithi. My presentation topics are while loop and do while loop. I will give description about while loop and do while loop. The while loop. A while loop is a block of statements that are repeated indefinitely as long as some condition is satisfied. The general form of a while loop in Fortran is given below. From the structure, we can see that the block of statements between the do and end-do are repeated indefinitely until the logical expression becomes true and the exit statement is executed. After the exit statement is executed, control transfers to the first statement after the end-do. Next, I will show you about the flowchart. This is the figure of a flowchart of while loop. If we see the flowchart, we can notice that in the flowchart, when the input statement comes to the loop, it gets tested inside the loop. If the condition is false, the statement goes into the loop again and again until the condition is true. When the condition is true, the statement is executed. Then I will say about the do while loop. The do while loop. There is an alternate form of the while loop in Fortran called the do while loop. The do while has construct has the form. At first we will write do while logical expression between the brackets, then we will give statement 1 statement 2 to statement n, and at last we will give n do. So we can say from the structure that do while loop repeats a statement or a group of statements while a given condition is true. It tests the condition before executing the loop body. Thanks all. Now my teammate Alamin Hossein will give his presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Zara. My name is Salamin and I am going to explain the cycle and exit statement. Generally, the cycle and exit statement are used in while loop and counting the loop. First, I would like to explain the cycle statement. In programming, we need several times we need to work with different type of loops in where sometimes we need to skip a fixed output. The question is how can we do that? And the answer is using cycle statement. When a cycle statement is executed under a loop, the iteration is stopped and the control will be returned to the top of the loop, and the loop index incremented and the loop execution will resume again. Here is the structure of a cycle statement. In this way, we can use cycle statement. Here is an example where I write a code to show first 5 positive integers, and I don't want to see the output integer 3. Here I set index equal to 3. When the index equal to 3, the cycle statement will be executed and it omit the output. And in the we see that output integer 3 is missing. In this way, we can use cycle statement. Now exit statement. In working with loops, sometimes we don't need some outputs after completing a sufficient condition, and we can do that easily using exit statement. When exit statement is executed under a loop, control will be transferred to the first executable statement after the loop. Here is the structure. In this way, we can use exit statement. Here is an example where I write a code to show first 5 positive integers, and I wanted to show first 2 positive integers. That's why I set index equal to 3. When the index will equal to 3, the exit statement will be executed, and the exit statement will be executed, and the control will be transferred to the next executable statement after. In this way, we can use exit statement. Thank you. Now Maliha will continue her topic.
Thank you, Alamin. Hello, sir. I'm Saada Madhatasnim. I'm going to discuss about named loops and nesting loops in Fortran. First, named loops. It's possible to assign a name to a loop just like human names, but there are some rules for naming a loop in Fortran. Here on the first page, we can see the general form of a while loop with a name attached to it. And on the second page, we can see the general form of a counting loop with a name attached to it. Now, we will discuss about the rules of naming a loop in Fortran. First rule, a name may be up to 63 alphanumeric characters long beginning with a letter, not a number. Second rule, unlike human names, the name of a loop must be unique. Third rule, the names are optional for cycle and exit statement, but if used, it must be the same as the loop statement, just like the people's family names are. Now the question is, why we are naming a loop? For simple codes like this, no reason at all. But when we have to do long, complicated codes where there are complex nesting loops, names help the compiler and us to remember which loop we are using. Also, names helps a compiler to flag the specific location of any error if it occurs.
Next, I will be discussing about nesting loops. Okay, it's possible for one loop to be completely inside another loop. If one loop is completely inside another one, the two loops are called nested loops. The following example shows two nested do loops used to calculate and write out the product of two integers. In the example, as you can see, the outer do loop will assign a value of 1 to index variable I. Then the inner do loop will be executed 3 times, 1 to 3 with index j. When the inner loop is completed, the outer loop will assign value to index I, and the process will repeat again until the outer loop is incremented as well. Note that the do loop executes completely before the index variable of outer loop is incremented. Now we will talk about some errors in nesting do loops. If we don't write the structure of a loops properly, it will show an error. Like if I annotate this one on the example, if I cut this one out or forget to write into or even this one, it will show an error. Next, I will show another error. If two loops are to be nested, one of them must lie completely within another one. The following do loops are incorrectly nested, as you can see in this picture below, and the compiler time error will be generated if this code is run. And that's all. Next, my teammate Sakif will present his topic. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Maliha. Sir, I will explain about cycle and exit statements in nesting loops and exiting from loops inside nested structure. My name is Mohammad Sakifuddin and my role is 61. If a cycle or exit statement appears inside an unnamed set of nested loops, then the cycle or exit statement refers to the innermost of the loop containing it. I'll show the example what Mali have shown before. Here, for I is equals to 1, if j is equals to 2, then the cycle statement will be executed, and for that, the remainder of the code block of the innermost do loop will be skipped. This execution will start over with j increased by 1. And the outputs are 1 into 1 is equals to 1, 1 into 3 is equals to 3, 2 into 1 is equals to 2, 2 into 3 is equals to 6, 3 into 1 is equals to 3, and 3 into 3 is equals to 9. So here, as we see, for the cycle command, we have managed to skip the inner do loop. But what if we want the outer do loop also to be skipped by this cycle command? For that, we'll have to name each loop, and we will use that name after the cycle command for our purpose. So let's see an example for that. Here we have named the loop as outer and inner, and we have used the name outer after the cycle command. So here, if j is equals to 2, the cycle command will be executed, and for that the remainder of the code block of the outer do loop will be skipped if the cycle command is executed, and the execution will start over with I increased by 1, and the outputs are 1 into 1 is equals to 1, 2 into 1 is equals to 2, and 3 into 1 is equals to 3. So here goes the cycle statement. Now the exit statement inside a nested loop. The exit statement can exit to any level or any structure that contains the do loop. For example, in the code below, when I is equals to 3, execution will transfer to the first statement after the end of the if structure. So here, if I is equals to 3, the execution will lead the code to skip the if one loop, and the execution will start over for the first statement after the if one loop. So that is all from us, sir. We'll hope you will like it. Thank you very much.